why can't there be multiple gods that we can believe in? And why can't there be multiple ways into heaven?
Good. There can be. But you see, what you've got to answer, ma'am, is why would you believe in heaven? Have you ever been there? Neither have I. So in light of the fact you've never seen heaven, why would you as a thinking human being believe there's a heaven?
I mean,
why?
Through the Christian faith, is there not the communication that if you do live by the faith, and you are forgiven, you go to heaven?
Yes, but ma'am, my being convinced that I'm going to heaven is based on one thing: the trustworthiness of Jesus Christ. Because I've never been to heaven. So I don't know if there's a heaven or not from my experience. And I can promise you, Austin is not heaven. Okay? It's a very nice place, but it's not heaven.
Right.
Okay? So you see, ma'am, when it comes to heaven, you're going to have to trust somebody the same way I'm going to have to trust somebody. And the question is, why do you trust whoever it is you trust? So because Muhammad contradicts Jesus, and because Jesus contradicts the avatars of Hinduism, and because the avatars of Hinduism contradict Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, and because they all contradict Baha'i faith, you've got to be on the intellectual level of a cockroach if you say they're all saying the same thing. They're not, ma'am. They're contradicting each other. So either they're all wrong or one of them's right. And now you've got to study the Gospels for yourself, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you got to ask yourself, does the evidence point to Jesus being the truth? And if it does, trust him. But if the evidence is that Christ is a liar, you'd be a fool to trust him. Do not trust Jesus if the evidence is he's a fraud, he's a hypocrite, he's a liar. Don't trust him. But if the evidence is he's totally reliable, if the evidence is he really did die and rise from the dead, then you can trust him, and he's the one who promises heaven to everybody who puts their faith in him. A lot of my friends are atheists and agnostic, okay? And here's something that my atheist agnostic friends have to acknowledge if they're being intellectually consistent. Because they believe there's no heaven, no day of judgment, that has big implications for now, today. And the implication is what you and I do with our lives is ultimately meaningless. Why? Where are Hitler and Mother Teresa if there is no heaven and no hell? Where are Hitler and Mother Teresa? The same place. The fertilizer pit. They're decomposing. Which means, ultimately, it does not matter whether you are Adolf Hitler II or whether you're Mother Teresa II, because we're all going to the same place, the fertilizer pit. You see, Jesus says, no, there is eternity out there, and there's a heaven and a hell, and there's a day of judgment, which means the decisions that you make today are really significant. They really matter. And you are really valuable, because God wants you to live for eternity with him in heaven. And becoming fertilizer is not God's plan for you and desire for you. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much for raising that. Yes, sir.
There's been a couple issues of things that you've been saying that I have questions with, but I'm just going to do a quick short one. One of my main questions that I always have is just that given what you touted earlier, a tri-omni God, a omnibenevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, just all-powerful, all-knowing, all-caring, how do you explain the existence of evil and suffering?
You bet. Very slowly, having to acknowledge I can't give you a complete answer. I do not know ultimately why God allowed evil, suffering, and death. But here's my first point. If you're an atheist or if you're an agnostic, what is your solution to the problem of evil and death?
My solution to the evil problem?
The solution. What is your solution to the problem of evil and death? If you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic.
I mean, the solution for everybody is just to be as good as possible. I mean, everybody should aim for being good.
True, according to their own definition of good, right?
Becoming, own definition good, whether it's objective good from God or objective good from another source.
Well, remember, the atheist or agnostic says either there is no God or I don't know whether there's a God.
Yeah.
So good is not defined by God if you're an atheist.
Yeah.
If you're an atheist, good is defined by your culture or by the power elite or by yourself or by majority opinion.
It could be just defined as good. Just good just exists, whether God or not.
How can good just exist?
Good could possibly, because I don't know if there's a God or not. But I mean, if there is such a thing as a God that is out of time, like that is eternal, why can't other concepts like good just be out of time and eternal, just a thing that exists like God?
Okay. Sir, good is an intangible value. You cannot see good.
You can't see God either.
Exactly. You cannot measure good, right?
You can't measure God. It could exist eternally, just like it could just be God. It could just be God. It could not be just God. It could just be the existence of good and evil that just exists in the world. But given a tri-omni God who's all-powerful and all-caring, why evil and suffering exists doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, good. You hang with me and we'll go.
He's as powerful and caring as he says.
In order to understand goodness, there has to be a mind. This tree has no understanding of good. This cement has no understanding of good. See, good can't just exist. Because goodness requires definition. And it's an intangible value that you can't measure. You can't grab goodness. Which means you got to have a mind involved in defining what is good.
If we're going by that definition, then what is defining God?
Okay,
what created
God? We'll get to that.
All the arguments you could give for God could also go for good, just as a general concept. It could just exist eternally out of time, unmeasurable.
No, sir. That's not fair. If God exists, God doesn't depend on anybody. If goodness as an intangible value exists, it depends on a mind to define it.
God would also be an intangible.
Obviously, that's right.
It could, like, coming from a different viewpoint, outside of trying to see where, the reasoning for things, you could say that it could be what we define as God, societally, could just be the existence of just that good, in the same context of eternal and timeless and all that. Like,
if there is no God, goodness is not eternal, because goodness demands a mind to define it. Which means,
then in giving that same argument, then what mind defines God? There would be something above him if something has to make him or define him.
No, God can be an eternal being without beginning, without end.
I don't think you see my point, because goodness could be the same thing.
You're not listening, sir.
You're giving goodness a different definition.
No, sir, you're not listening to me, and I don't appreciate it. I've told you flat out, and I think you're smart enough to get this point. Goodness demands some mind to define it. The tree, the cement, has no ability to understand goodness. You've got to have a mind. Do you see that, or do you disagree with me?
I think we're coming to different definitions of good, because then, there's still, outside of that though, given your definition of good, still, why is evil or suffering?
Forget my definition of good. Your definition of good.
I'm just saying, given yours, why does evil and suffering exist?
All right, You're
fine. Evading that part of the question.
We'll move on to that, okay? But sir, I got a real problem with your thinking, all right? I don't think you're being honest with yourself. That's not fair. You know very well that I've cornered you totally, intellectually. You know very well that you cannot have goodness without some type of mind to create and define it. It's impossible. This does not define goodness. That does not define goodness. And that camera does not define goodness. And your glasses do not define goodness. Neither does your shirt, your pants, or your sneakers. You've got to have a mind to define goodness. Sorry, you have no option intellectually. This has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It has to do with simply thinking fairly. All right, moving on to next.
All paths do not lead to heaven because all contradict one another at their core. Either they are all wrong or one of them is right. And you have to be on the intellectual level of a cockroach to think otherwise. I love that statement from Cliff. This was his first point addressing the young lady. Now, the gentleman that came in and entered the conversation was trying to understand, what is goodness? What is the concept of it? Is it tangible? Is it intangible? How do we conceive of good is what comes up in my mind from the conversation that he just had. And one of the pillars that sets Christianity apart from all other religions is the fact that there is evidential claims, not of just philosophical teachings, but of miracles, and specifically the miracle of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, naturalism for a long time has failed to explain the resurrection because it cannot account for the empty tomb on a naturalistic interpretation, or the multiple group appearances, or the independent conversions of skeptics like the Apostle Paul and James, all of which require a real event, not hallucinations or legend. But when atheists fail to be able to explain the resurrection away on a naturalistic interpretation, it seems like all that they're left with on their naturalistic side is to say, well, maybe they were just deceived. And okay, we can genuinely and honestly look at this and be humble on both sides and respect each other without belittling one another. I think that's important. But let's investigate that claim. Were they deceived like other cults or other religions? Let's look at the differences between other religions and cults versus Christianity. First, Buddhism. It did not claim to rise from the dead. It did not claim verifiable supernatural events. And Buddhism spreads through philosophy, not eyewitness miracle testimony. Now, Muhammad, he said that he alone received the Quran via an angel. No group saw the angel, no external verification. It's personal revelation, not a shared history as Christianity is. Now, Mormonism, Joseph Smith also claimed that he saw an angel privately. He also claimed that golden plates or tablets existed, but no one saw him outside of his circle. His witnesses recanted and even changed their story. And we don't see this within Christianity. And also, there was no physical miracle that anybody else could verify. It's personal and not a shared history like Christianity. Now, atheists will say, well, many people are deceived in cults as well, just like in these other religions. But remember, the difference is personal revelation versus a shared history. So cults, they always start with a private leader having secret revelations or visions that no one else can check, and the followers taking it on authority and not on evidence. So the difference is firsthand experiences of one person, not public events witnessed by many, as we have in Christianity. And scholars actually categorize this in completely different ways. Like I said, personal revelation versus objective shared historical eyewitness testimony. So when an atheist says that many people have been deceived and believed things even that are not true, it's okay to talk about that, but just don't categorize Christianity in the context of the religion and cults that we just explained. They are different. Now, the conversation that Cliff was having about the concept or idea of what is good, it had me thinking about objective morality and how naturalists like to say that morality is rooted within mankind, that being they are the source, and that's where it comes from. But I have a challenge to that. In point one, majority agreement equals consensus, not objectivity. If 99% of humans think something is wrong, then that shows strong intuition indeed, but it does not make it objectively true. Second point, humans can be universally wrong. I know you've heard it before, but there are times when nearly every culture thought that slavery was acceptable, but this universal belief did not make slavery good. Point three, objective morality. Objective morality equals truth that stands even if everyone disagrees. That's what objective morality actually is. In human recognition, it does not create it. If every human agrees that murder is wrong, that agreement only shows that people recognize a moral truth. It doesn't mean that they produce it or that they are the source of it. Gravity existed long before humans ever discovered it, and their awareness did not bring it into existence. In the same way, moral truths can be built into reality itself, grounded in the inherent value of human life and the nature of existence. In the same way, moral truths can be built into reality itself, grounded in the inherent value of human life and the nature of existence, not in human opinion or human experience. Point four, our moral intuitions, they point toward the objective standard, but they do not create it. Human agreement, it may recognize morality, but it does not determine morality. Point 5, therefore, morality, it must be grounded in a source beyond humans. If humans didn't create the moral law, then the moral law must come from something above humans, an unchanging, perfect moral standard, which is God. So putting everything that I just said into a deductive logical argument, it looks like this. Premise 1, if morality were based on majority agreement, then moral truth would change whenever human opinions change. Premise 2, human opinions have often been universally mistaken. Example, widespread acceptance of slavery, showing that consensus, it does not determine moral truth. Premise 3, therefore moral truths must exist independently of opinion or consensus. Premise 4, any truth that exists independently of human opinion must be grounded in something beyond humanity. Premise 5, the only adequate grounding for unchanging objective moral truth is a perfect, transcendent moral source. In conclusion, therefore, objective morality is not grounded in human agreement, but in God, the transcendent moral source. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Choose it. Be blessed.